Good morning from Vietnam. Thanks, Paul, for spending your afternoon joining our Inside Sharing show and sharing your story. You have a career phenomenally amazing, and then we would love to have you share your insights with our audience. So, thank you very much for joining our program.
Thank you so much, Ha. It's my honor to be here.
Paul, in our culture, it's very honor if we can have our speaker to share who they are and the work that they do. Can you help us to do that?
Absolutely. So, in the current tense, best-selling author, global keynote speaker, mindset and performance coach, those are the spaces that I love to create impact in. My definition of impact is making a difference. The way that I would define making a difference is, am I leaving people and places better than I found them? So that's where I'm currently in. And here's the neat part about it is I don't consider what I do a job. I don't consider what I do a part of a career. I consider it a calling.
A calling.
I graduated from career to calling. And that has been the priceless transformation that I'm so humbled and honored and proud to have experienced, because I was not in a bad place. I was not in a broken place. Things were very good. I had a thriving career inside of the professional sports industry here in the United States, largely in the NBA and basketball and the NFL and American football. And that was phenomenal. My most recent role was heading up sales and business development for my favorite NFL team and billion-dollar campaigns. Prior to that, it was the NFL league office and breaking Super Bowl revenue records, and the stories of both triumph and also some heartbreaking defeats. But you learn from those things. But I felt like a kid in a candy store. I felt like the luckiest person on earth to be able to have this professional day in, day out experience. And what happened was, back in 2016, I went to a leadership offsite retreat that changed my life. Fundamentally, my life has never been the same since. I started to understand my why. I understood my core values, and I got obsessed with how I could apply those every single day of my life via my decisions, my behaviors, my actions. And that's where I found greater purpose in life. I felt like this was a transformation where I was always living, but now I felt alive. And it's a drastic difference when you go from living to feeling alive. So the way that this all shook out is I go back into the office the day after this retreat. I tell my team all about it. And the following day, one person on my team comes up to me and he says, "Hey, Paul, that thing you did at the retreat, you think you could help me find my why?" And the next day, another person asked me. One person leads to 2, leads to 5, leads to 10, leads to nearly 50. That over the course of a year or so, I helped them find their why. From the business side of the organization to the football side of the organization. And that's when I knew that I was called to do that. When I can illuminate who somebody is from the inside out, they gain a sense of identity. They feel greater meaning in each day. They attack each day with greater purpose, because it just matters more when you know who you are, because you're more clear, you're more confident, you have more conviction, you have more courage. But it starts with clarity, and that's exactly what my why did for me.
Wow. And I congratulate you for being able to find your why, but not only finding your why, but now you're helping people finding their whys also. And a lot of us living in autopilot, right? So, and we're happy or we're not happy, and we don't even know, how to make the change. And you got the calling, and you've been able to transform that from that calling to inspire to change not only you but to many people. And that's a great thing that you've been doing. I wish you have all the best health and courage to continue doing that, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And also, before our time is up here today, for everybody that's listening in as your loyal fans, we're going to be able to share a gift with them on how they can find their personal why in under 5 minutes. So I certainly want to put that out there. So if you're listening in, hang until the very end, and we will tell you exactly how you can find your why.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Paul, I want to bring you all the way back to a very younger version of Paul. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because when I was young, I wanted to become an astronaut, and I wanted to wear an astronaut jumpsuit, and then jumping in different planet Earth, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so when you were young, what did you dream when you grow up? You're gonna do what kind of job and what kind of contribution you're gonna bring to the world?
Gosh, that's a big question. And what's really cool about what you just said is now I understand that my why, my one word why, is contribution. Now,
Contribution.
did I know that when I was growing up? Of course, I never connected the dots with the word of contribution, but I know why that is my why. And the backstory is, so when I grew up, my dad was born here in the United States, my mom born in Mexico. And so most of her family was still down. We're in Southern California in Los Angeles. It's about a 3-4 hour drive from the border of Mexico. And I spent a lot of weekends down there and a lot of holidays down there. It was much easier for us to go down than them to come up. So a lot of my childhood was spent down there. And it was such an amazing thing because the family dynamic, the culture dynamic, just the way that I just love the Mexican culture in the sense of how it feels like a tightly knit tribe and how you would just do anything and everything for your family. And that's also where I learned the definition of happiness because we had little to no money, but yet everybody had a smile on their face. And so I never connected things with happiness. I never connected things with fulfillment. I just knew that these people love each other. They care about each other. They'll do anything for each other. So when you ask where the contribution came from, I never tied it to what do I want to do the rest of my life. I just saw the fundamentals of how people treat people at their best. And that doesn't mean we were a perfect family. It doesn't mean there were never fights or arguments or disagreements. Of course, we're all human. But I saw that when nobody's driving a fancy car, nobody has a big house, nobody has a professional resume, even like the humble one that I can share with your audience here today. Nobody in my family had that. Very few people even had college degrees, but they smiled and they treated people well. And so when you bring things down to such a foundational level, you can't lose because you're not waiting for the next big thing. You're not waiting for the promotion. You're not waiting for the cash. You're not waiting for, my friend calls it the external happiness trap, which is I'll be happy when fill in the blank.
Yeah.
We always think we're one thing away from being happy, and it's a facade. It's not real. You get there and poof, it expires within moments, days, weeks, months. It's gone. No matter what trophy you achieve in life, that's the graduation of success to significance. If success is serving yourself, significance is serving others. When I started to understand that the secret sauce to life is significance, and we should be chasing significance versus chasing success, that's when your whole perspective on life changes, and it's a much faster path to not only fulfillment, but sustainable fulfillment. Sustainable. It's got to last. So going back to my childhood, did I always think, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? No, but I observed my hero every single day. My hero is my father. And my father, unfortunately, he passed away when I was 19 years old. I was a freshman in college. He was a diabetic. I got the most horrible phone call you could ever imagine. And it was unexpected when it did happen. And that is the day that I had to transform from a boy to a man at 19 years old. As an only child, that is the day that my mom went from a parent to a partner, because now it was just me and her. But going back to my dad, he taught at a continuation high school. That was his job. Now, for those that aren't familiar with a continuation school, what that means is you've been kicked out of traditional school. So one school kicks you out for bad behavior, another school kicks you out, and all the trouble kids, the problem kids, and you end up in a continuation high school. And usually nobody believes in you, might be a broken home, a disadvantaged background, poor socioeconomically, and your hope is that you don't go on to be another statistic that ends up on the street. My dad, after teaching in regular schools, chose to teach in continuation schools. So fast forward, a couple years after he passed, I'm at a barber shop a few blocks away from where he taught, and some of his former students were there. And one of them recognized me because I guess when I was a little kid, I was standing on the side of the stage that he graduated from. And he approached me and he said that my dad was the first person that ever believed in him.
Wow.
He then went on to tell me that he's had a job for 2 consecutive months for the first time in his life. And it may not sound like much, but it meant the world to him.
Wow.
And then, here's what he told me that I will keep in my heart and my soul for the rest of my life. This gentleman told me, your dad gave me a reason to think that tomorrow is worth it.
Wow.
When you hear that, that is everything from why to purpose to legacy to impact to making a difference. That moment taught me what leadership really is. It's not about a position or a rank or a role or a title or authority. It's not. My dad was a leader to this guy that everybody else had been given up on. And then he said, I believe in tomorrow because of your dad. So you asked me, what did I want to be when I grew up? I didn't want to be a firefighter or an astronaut. I wanted to be my dad. Wow. I wanted to be a hero that impacted people in a very similar way that he did.
And he's what he did was amazing, you know, like it's no title, no chasing for, you know, fames or anything. He's chasing for a future for people. And that future is by playing the seed of believing, you know, believing they can do something worthwhile for themselves. And that's not an easy job, Paul. Not a lot of people in this life chasing, you know, those kind of like quiet hero. They chase for, you know, like, you know, the different kind of light. And I really admire those, you know, the works that your father do. And as the father, he also transformed that to you, so that you have that seed inside of you to continue to make your impact and influence, right? And
yeah,
so
and Ha, if I could share one thing on that, because I had a conversation recently about this exact topic, and the question I was asked was, well, if you can only change 1 or 2 lives, is it worth it? Like in other words, is it worth doing what you do? Is it worth choosing a career, an occupation, or spending your spare time to do whatever it is that you choose to do if you could only change 1 or 2 people's lives? And my answer, because of the story that I just shared with you, is 100%. You have to. It's our duty to the world. It's our duty to humanity. And here's exactly why I say this. My dad, I can't count how many students he impacted, but it certainly was not a million. Let's say it was a few hundred, maybe a few thousand after decades of doing it, but it's certainly, in the bigger picture, it's not a massive number. But here's the thing. That one person that came up to me, that everybody else gave up on, that's only one person. And because of him approaching me and telling me that story, fast forward 20 years later, I'm a global keynote speaker. I'm blessed that I get to touch millions of lives, impact millions of lives. And I've got a lot of years still ahead of me. And I'm going to do this until the world tells me they don't want to hear it anymore. And I hope that day never comes. I will continue to drive impact every day for the rest of my life. So think about it. If that gentleman was the only person, hypothetically, that my dad ever impacted, he technically is impacting tens of millions of lives.
Yep.
It took a few decades. It took me figuring out how to ignite impact around the globe. But think about that. We can just do one small thing for one person, and the ripple effect can absolutely transform.
Yep. We never know that, you know, the power of small little thing, right? So like when I was young, my mom taught me the power of one. One is not not scaring us. If we ask about 10 things to do on a daily basis, it's too much, right? But if you ask just one and then just one more, then, you know, then eventually when you look back on the days, you have many ones combined together, and then it's becoming a big number that we didn't even realize. So definitely, like in your stories, I'm really inspired by the message that your father taught on that gentleman, that changed his life, and the ripple effect from the moment that he catch you on the sidewalk and then share with you how that impact into him and created impact for million of people and many more million people in the coming years. They will be never tired of hearing that, Paul. So continue to do that, all right?
Great.
I want to know, fast forward, because like you say, 2016 was a moment that you found your wife, and you found your calling. Put it that way, right? And from the 2016 and before that, you also have a very and significant career growth. And normally, when people would having that success, they be sucked into that success, and be doing that and in and out without even had a chance to realizing what they want in life. So what happened in that 2016, the retreat event? Can you share with us?
Yeah, I mean, what happened at the event, it colored my lens of the world in a different way, because until I knew who I was, I didn't truly have a vision of who I wanted to become. And so there's a difference between the present and the future version of me. But here's what happens. The sunny side of it, the positive side, is it's amazing. You find your why, you find your values, you apply it to your decisions, behaviors, and actions. But it's really a masterclass of self-discovery. It's a masterclass of personal transformation. I was just amazed at how instant it felt, like a special thing had just transpired in my life. But that's the positive side. Here's the other side of the coin, which I think is equally as important. It makes you question how you're showing up. It makes you question your authenticity. It makes you question whether you're showing up as different people in different environments. And that leads to a lot of internal tension if you don't love the answers. I felt a lot of tension because, to no fault of anybody's, I own every single piece of the good and the bad. I really felt like there were two versions of me. I felt like there was a work Paul and a personal Paul. And prior to understanding my why, that didn't bother me. I never even thought about it. I never knew that I was really showing up as two people when I opened my home door versus the office door. But once I knew who I was from the inside out, I could no longer ignore the tension. I could no longer ignore this separation of identity. And I made a commitment that I said, there's only one Paul, and it's up to me to make that reality. I am no longer willing to change who I am in order to please other people, in order to grow my career, in order to achieve more trophies and success and titles and responsibilities and all these things that I was chasing. I absolutely was chasing them. At the time, pre-why, those were the most important things to me. And I was doing really well. But I also, when I understood that authenticity was a core value of mine, I said, well, I have to practice what I preach. And I'll be honest, there's moments after these types of discoveries where if you haven't been fully authentic with yourself, you feel like a sellout. You feel like a sellout. And it bothered me to the point that I said, I am no longer willing to sacrifice my identity and the purest form of Paul in order to achieve all these external things. If there's alignment between who I am internally and what do I want to achieve externally, that's utopia. That's the optimal situation. But I didn't find myself in that situation. And again, I'm not speaking poorly on the industry or the company or the leaders or the culture. I actually loved all of it. But I'll fast forward to a conversation I had with my executive coach. And just to show you the power of decision making, one of my core values is growth. Growth. I made a commitment. I will statement. So I will fill in the blank. And my commitment was with a growth mindset. I said, I will do something that I said I would never do. And it's going to be big. And I thought about the things I said I would never do. And one of them, was going back to school. Because to me, getting an MBA, those 3 letters in the industry I was in, it just didn't have the value that it has in other industries. So I didn't need it. And I made the decision and I made the investment of money and time and energy and everything else. And a month into my MBA journey, I have my first executive coaching session. And this was another interesting pivot point, because prior to that, all of my conversations with quote unquote mentors, I kind of had to play it safe. Remember, there was a work Paul and a personal Paul. So when people ask, if you're listening in and people ask, how are you doing? And your default is you say good. Even if you're not good, you say good. Because unless you feel 100% trust with a person, and unless you feel there's no negative consequences of telling the truth, that's the only way you're going to give 100% of the truth. If you feel like nothing bad will happen, if you fully go there. And so with my mentors, I was always a little guarded because they knew my boss really well. I played a little afraid. And, I wasn't the biggest version of myself. I was playing a little small. But with my executive coach, there were no rules, no bias, no agenda. She purely just wanted what was best for me. And she did not know a single person in my life. And it felt liberating, almost therapeutic, that I got to open up. So here were the questions she asked me. And again, at the time, I was the head of sales for the 49ers. So she said, Paul, I know what you do. What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? And what do you tolerate? And I answered all 3. And then she said, go deeper on the love bucket. I said, okay, well, I love being a coach just like you. I love molding and grooming and developing talent. I love the people side, the culture side. And she said, awesome. On a good day, what percentage of your time are you doing that? And I literally, just started to slouch down in my chair because I knew that I hated the answer. And I plussed it up a little bit and I told her 20%. I love what I do day to day 20% of the time. And she said, great. If you became your boss tomorrow, would that number 20% go up, down, or sideways? And I thought about my boss and I said, oh my gosh, all they do is strategy. They hardly do anything on the people side of the business. And so I answered to her, the number would go down. And this was the question. She asked me, so what are you after?
Wow.
It's such a simple question, but the meaning is so profound. It was the right question at the right time. I was ready to hear it. Most importantly, I was ready to act on it. And at that moment, mentally, I knew that I had to leave sports. I knew because I wasn't sure if 100% of the love bucket, as she called it, was possible, but I was willing to die trying. I was all in. And it came back to my one final value, which is impact. Impact. I asked myself, can I create more impact inside of the walls of this industry or beyond? And when I framed it that way, it wasn't a choice. It became one of the easiest, yes, courageous, but the easiest decisions of my life, because all I was doing was listening to my values. That's it.
Well, Paul, we have a lot of angel, coming to our life, right? That executive coach by, also an angel happened to your life, and then can, and be like invisible angel to the life of the million people that you potentially, already have the impact, and potentially we have an impact on them. Because she asked the question, the simple, but it trigger. It's the very big question. It just triggered the right moment for you to really, put everything that you already had aside and then move into the next stage that, you can create more impact and influence. I want to ask you about the courage that you gave to yourself back then at that moment, because I have a lot of friends who are executives, who are in the C-suite office and board members, and they could not that's two things that they did not do, and they regret by the time of retirement. One is they can always start in their own business to do something differently, but they decide not to. Second is to write a book, and they are yet doing it also. So we, every chance they got a chance to talk to them, I encourage them. There's still time, and they can always do it now, right? So back then, you decided to start a career in sports where you have, all everything's already in there for you, ready, and start fresh again, knowing that you can have an impact, but the knowing is in the future, right? And
it's a lot of faith and hope. Yes,
the giving
it's a lot of faith and hope.
Is present. So so it's very brave action of you that you stop and do something differently. So who was there with you, and what is that inside your head back then telling you to do?
Oh, this is so good. I love this conversation, and I'm going to tackle your question from a few different angles because I'm speaking to every person listening in right now to say, I want you to pay very close attention to me connecting the dots of my life journey, because if you were to do a reflection on your life story and your life journey, I believe that the same impact can be in your future. And here's where I'm going with this. I shared already that I lost my dad. I talked about how my mom, me being an only child, went from parent to partner. So when I walked in the house, the most horrible day of life, and I opened the door to see my mom crying hysterically on the ground. And when I went to go pick her up, and we had a hug that felt like 5 years. I don't know if it was 5 seconds or 5 minutes. I'll never know. But what I do remember after just my shoulder and her tears and my shirt is soaked and we're embracing, and it was the tightest hug that I may ever have in my life. And one of my core values that I found out years later is courage. And here's what it is. The Latin definition of inspire is to breathe life into. I believe your core values are what are breathed into you. And I kid you not, she breathed courage into me in that moment. I saw the way she showed up, how she was a pillar of strength the day he passed, and the next day, and the next, and she did all the planning, and she executed flawlessly, and she was bold and brave and courageous. She breathed courage into me, and it never left. It never, ever left. Prior to that moment, I was not a very courageous person. I was not. My dad was the inspiration from the education and all the stories I've already shared. My mom was the harder one. She was the tougher one. She was the bolder one. She was the one that always told me to go for it. And I didn't always go for it. Paul, you should try this new sport. And I didn't. Paul, you should try this new thing. Paul, let's explore this new thing. Paul, let's try something different. And I wasn't the most courageous or curious person. I wasn't. But it's interesting how tragedy and seeing the way that she showed up in tragedy, it instilled a core value that is now my superpower. My superpower is courage. And I'm not sure that it is if I don't lose my dad. I'm not sure that it is if my mom is not as strong as she is. So it's, as you're listening into this, like, there is wisdom in wounds. That wound is a horrible wound. But there is wisdom that now I get to share with others because of that rock bottom moment. So fast forward, courage. I now consider decisions, courageous decisions, a superpower. And I'm literally writing a book on this, that I think can be highly impactful for everybody listening in. It's launching next year. I just finished writing it in the past few weeks. It's called Better Decisions Faster. And you cannot make better decisions faster at the most paralyzing forks in the road, the worst problem. Yes, decision fatigue. Yes, decision overwhelm. Yes, paralysis by analysis. The worst decision is indecision. And we're flooded in a world, we're surrounded every single day by indecision. Business, strategy, A or B, relationship, am I in or out? Career, am I finding the right ladder? all these health decisions, financial decisions, all of these, and we just don't make decisions. Nevertheless, make courageous decisions. Now, I want to meet people where they are, because if you're not ready for courage, just like at one point in my life, I wasn't ready for courage. I distill it down to a very simple thing. I call it the 4 C's. The first is clarity. When you make better decisions faster, it is because you have mastered your sense of clarity. Finding your why is one way that you can get very clear. There are things that can declutter your mind and give you clarity. That's the first C. When over time you are clear, you build confidence. Self-confidence is a wonderful, wonderful thing. But you don't start confident, you start clear. Then you become confident. And now over time, you express your confidence. Now you step into each day with conviction. That's the third C, conviction. I step into each day with my actions of conviction. And then as I continue to flex that muscle and I put in the reps there, what do you know? Courage becomes a natural byproduct. So from clarity to confidence to conviction to courage. We don't start at courage, we start at clarity. Everybody listening into this can get clear. You can get clear, whether through a coach, an assessment, conversation with a mentor, just some deep internal work, anything that you need to do to get clear, you get clear. And then confidence, and then conviction, and then courage. And that to me is how you can make better decisions faster. You just focus on clarity and you focus on winning one day at a time, because the thing about decisions, it's not just paralyzing forks in the road. That's big stuff. What about the small stuff? What about how you show up each day? When you walk in a room, one of two things happens. You warm it up or you cool it off. The question is, are you aware of your own temperature? That is a decision. Awareness is a decision. To be aware or to not be aware, and you get to decide.
Wow. And a lot of people not aware of that. Not aware of the impact.
They're not aware of awareness.
Whatever the decision that they make, it sounds good, but sometimes it's not fully, thoughtful, something not really mindful, and it's short-sighted. And so, absolutely, I would love to look at your book and learn more about the 4 C, the clarity, the confidence, the convictions, and then go into the courage, right? So that we can make better decisions faster. And so when is the book is going to introduce? Have any time frame for that?
Spring of 2023.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've got some time, but I'll be out on social media, out on my website. I'll be getting the content out there, because to me, we can't wait to make better decisions faster. I'm not willing to keep this on the shelf for too long. The book may have to wait, but the lessons and the insights, they're going to be coming out every single day, week, and month going forward.
Wow. I'll definitely will order some of the books to send it to my dear friends, my children, and the children of our friends. So I'll get back to you by spring of next year. I'll book them to my calendar for
Absolutely,
that. And
yeah.
I would love to have you sign it off, so that it's going to be a gift that we gave to them, so that they can make some impact in their lives also, Paul. Is that okay?
Would love to. That warms the heart. Thank you so much.
I would ask you one last question, and then I will ask you to also share the secrets that you want to share to our audience for the 5 minutes to find our whys. Okay, so my wife and I are in the mission to help people to think better. Okay, and for a very long time we realized that our ability to think actually is diminishing. It's not increasing, and for whatever reason. And so every chance that we had a chance to meet and to talk to experts who think deeper, who spend a lot of time to think and help people to think like you are, I will ask this question: how do you help yourself to expand your ability to think, Paul?
How do I develop myself? How do I grow myself? How do I work on myself?
Yeah, your ability to think. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I mean, you can't think without clarity. And so I think it's practicing what I preach about, whether they are physical practices every day, from journaling. A lot of people have heard of a gratitude journal. 100%. I believe in it. I
Mm.
do journal what I'm grateful for.
Mm.
But there's two other elements that I journal every day. And all of this helps me not only develop myself, but to
Mm.
think more clearly. Because what I've realized is, in the world, we often feel very helpless.
Mm.
And so the remedy to that is to become helpful. If you feel helpless, you become helpful. And you become more helpful when you feel gratitude in each day. So even when bad things happen, adversity does not discriminate. Setbacks, hurdles, obstacles surround us every day. Well, when I'm grateful for even the opportunity, I don't believe in success and failure. I believe in success and learning. And so if that's my mentality about every day, then I'm going to step in more positive and passionate and purposeful. So going back to the journal, yes, gratitude. Then I also look at my calendar every morning and I ask myself, what do I get to do today? Get, not have to do. What do I get to do? And so it's a reframe. It's a mindset reframe because, as an example, early during the pandemic, all meetings shift to virtual. So all of a sudden, Zoom or whatever platform you use, it becomes a thing. After 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, most people are tired of virtual meetings. They don't want to do them anymore, and they don't feel a connection and all these things, right? But we did it out of necessity and safety and for a lot of good reasons. That said, at some point during the pandemic, I could have said, oh gosh, I have to do another webinar. Oh gosh, I have to do another virtual meeting. Versus, let's say it's a 10-person team meeting, I would say, I get to connect with 10 amazing teammates, right? Yep. It's the same thing on the calendar, but I went from I have to do this to I get to do this. And that's a mindset shift. That's a mindset reframe. You can do it for any activity on your calendar. The third thing I journal is excitement. The reason I sound so fired up and so passionate about life is because I am, because every day I guarantee myself a level of excitement. Here is my rule. In the same process, after I did my gratitude journal entry, then my get to journal entry, I do my excitement journal entry. I look at the calendar and I ask myself, what is one thing that I am excited to do today? Excited. And here's the thing, when this is a new practice, you look at your calendar and there's a chance that you're not excited about anything. And it's a very empty feeling. So here's what I did. I created my own rule. And I said, okay, if on the second day that I do this, again, I look at my calendar and again, nothing excites me. My rule is I will not get out of my journaling chair until I put something on the calendar that will excite me. So every other day I am guaranteed excitement. And then what happens is 50% turns to 60, turns to 70. I am at 100% of my days. I do at least one thing. And folks listening in, this can be anything. It can be cooking your favorite meal. It can be small, it can be medium, it can be big. What is something that will excite you today? Doing something new and different with your kids, treating a team member in a different way, reconnecting with an old friend. I come back to the favorite meal. Like all of these things that matter so much to you, but when we run too fast, we're not intentional about putting these things on our calendar. And then our inbox, our emails, our boss, we have so many things pulling us and so many people pulling us in different directions. If it doesn't go on your calendar, then it doesn't exist. And then there's no commitment. And so those are the three things I journal. And that's just, I could keep going, but that is one practice that I would recommend to anybody is, yes, journal gratitude, but journal something that you get to do. And then journal something that will excite you, and you will exude more passion and positive energy in every single day.
How beautiful. And it reminds me of, we always have a choice, right? We always have choice to make in our life. And like what you do is like every day you make the choice that best suit for you. So when you get out of your house and get out to do something, you already have your temperature checked. So it's always in the very high mood, upbeat, and we can never start the day wrong if we have that mindset, mentality, and temperature check like that already. While a lot of people let the umbrella, let the weather carry them out. Uh, so if I really appreciate the advice. That's very beautiful advice, and make sure that we're not gonna get out of the chair until we put a thing in there that exciting and mark our day, and it's highlight for the day,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Oh, so it goes to the most exciting of the conversation is now go back to you for the sharing that you would want us and the audience of the program to find out why. Can you sharing that with us?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed the question. To find the why.
No, the 5 minutes top secret that you want to share with our audience.
Oh yeah, the top secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple things. I'll share a couple final insights, and then I'll share the gift about the why discovery, if that's
Yes.
okay with you.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yep. So my two final insights. One is, think of them, for those of you that play poker, at least are familiar with them. We call them table stakes. What is the ante to play? What I have seen after studying those that are high performers, high achievers, but not just the trophies. I mean, they do it in a happy and fulfilling way. So they start by mastering their inside game so that they can then win the outside game. And those people, they have three things: awareness, ownership, and intention. So every day you can decide to be aware by calling a timeout, by being present. Own the good and the bad. Victims over time do not win. It does no good to point fingers. Even when something bad does happen to you and maybe somebody else did ill on you, what is the positive mid to long-term outcome if you have negative spirits and negative energy because somebody did something to you? Victims don't win over time. Those that just say it happened and I choose to move forward. It just happens. You don't need to attach a negative emotion to it, even if it is a negative experience. Up to you what emotional attachment you put on it or don't. And then intention. You said best, huh? How are you stepping into each day? Are you being intentional? Is life happening to you or for you? Are you living your life on default, or are you living life with purpose, on purpose? You decide that. That's intention.
Yep.
So those are three table stakes. The other piece, and the final piece before the gift that I'll share with everybody, is I call it separation season. You know, I've been around so many high performers, high achievers in the sports world, in the business world, and I'm blessed to understand what separates the top 1% from the pack. And again, it's more than just their performance and production. I mean, they did it with a smile on their face. They were loving their life. They had healthy relationships. They were well mentally, emotionally, physically. Like, they had a holistic life where there was abundance. So these are the people that I say, wow, I want to model myself after, because I've been blessed and grateful to be around them. And they take advantage of separation season. Separation season is about doing what others won't. And here's what I mean by that. In the holidays, November, December, a lot of people take their foot off the gas pedal. They say, hey, I'm going to take it easy and I'll pick it up on January 1st. And then they set a New Year's resolution, which by February 1st, most of the time doesn't even exist anymore. But needless to say, what if you maintain your consistent work ethic in November and December as the rest of the year? You will separate from the pack because they will come down. You stay the course. You don't need to try harder. You just need to not slip and fall like many others do. The daily or weekly analogy to this is win Monday. Win Monday. Most people don't feel like giving it their all on Monday, whether they over-enjoyed the weekend, whether they're catching up. Normally Tuesday is when they start to build momentum. But what if Monday became the day that you said, I'm going to win the day with intention, with purpose, with gratitude, with service, with impact. I'm going to win Monday. And now I win Tuesday, I win Wednesday, I win Thursday. It's just a domino effect. And so most people don't win Monday. And so I just want to share that. If you want to separate yourself from the pack, because think about like money, compounding interest. Over time, it adds up. The same principles apply. If you were to win Monday, you're going to work 50 Mondays in a year. There's 20 working days in a month. That means you have about 2.5 working months worth of Mondays. So imagine if you get an A in the test of Monday, somebody else gets a C. And after 5 years of 10 years of you winning Monday and other people just fantasizing about Friday, who do you think is going to come out on top?
You.
Who do you think? And to me, that is one of the most valuable lessons of discipline and commitment, to do what others won't, even if you don't feel like it, because you're doing it for a bigger purpose. And that's where I'll end, because it all comes back to when your why is fueling you. And purpose is not a North Star, it's a 365 lifestyle. It's purpose in action. Purpose is attached to the people that matter the most to you, the places that mean the most to you. That's where you find purpose. I have purpose as a dad. I have purpose as a husband. I have purpose at work. I have purpose in the community. And I can keep going because those are the people and the places that matter to me. And so I want that for everybody else. To live a more purposeful life, we have to win separation season, and it starts by winning Monday. So that's my closing insight.
Wow. Thanks a lot, Paul, for having powerful closing insights. And I have to admit that there's a lot of Mondays that I'm not in the right mood of doing things, and absolutely I need to reflect on that and change. And thanks for the reminder. Thanks for the powerful message that's simple, but a lot of us forgot, so easily, and let life carry us around, right?
And by the way, and for everyone listening in, no judgment, my friend, no judgment. I too struggle on some Mondays. I too don't always want to attack the day, and I'm not always the most positive on Monday morning, and you get overwhelmed by everything that's ahead. But that's why we need to be intentional. The healthiest people in the world, let's say in the fitness space, you think they want to work out every day? You think they want to sacrifice the pizza for the broccoli? Not always. They rarely do. But they know what they need to do to win the marathon. And so that's where the discipline, habits, and the focus and the intentionality come in. So with that, to discover your why. To discover your why right now, listening in. I'm sure we'll put this in the show notes. We'll put the URL. But the website is why, so whyinstitute.com/purpose. That's whyinstitute.com/purpose. In less than 5 minutes, you will know exactly what your why is. And I want you to use that as an anchor for all of your decisions, your actions, and your behaviors that mean the most to you going forward. That's exactly where your why comes in. You just apply it to every day and you ask yourself, is this serving my why? Or is it going against my why? And if it goes against, that's a red light. You don't take that action. But when it's a green light, it's because it's connected and aligned to your why. And that's exactly why you need to find out what it is.
So go to whyinstitute.com/purpose and spend the 5 minutes. And here's our audience. You can change your life like the way Paul already changed his life. He's also, use that 5 minutes of your time and learn the secrets from him. So Paul, thanks a lot for being so generous to come to our show, for a lot of sharings. There's a lot that is very emotional and it is really touched our heart. And please give your mom a big hug for us. Give your family a big hug for us, and then give yourself a big hug for us also for doing amazing thing. I'm not sure how you're gonna give yourself a big hug, but please
I'll try right now. This is doing my best. Yes, it looks like my arms are folded, but no, my friend, this was awesome. I loved it. I love your spirit and energy. I love the purpose behind the show. I love that you're doing it as a family, and the world needs it. The world needs people like you to do what you do, because there's too much darkness, there's too many clouds, there's too many storms. So you, myself, everybody listening in, let's be the light. Let's be the light. The world is trying to divide many. We unite, we unify. That is how we're going to get through all of these storms together.
Yep. Thank you very much, Paul. And I would love to see you one day in person, and hopefully our next trip to America next year, I'll be able to.
Join the book tour. The book tour, spring and summer 2023. Let's go.
All right, man. You have a wonderful evening there, okay?
All right, you too, my friend. Thank you so much,
Thank you very much. Bye-bye for now.